Howdy folks, here's another art book review. I did one a while ago on watercolor painting, and I enjoyed it a lot and got a lot out of the book. I thought it was a good book. But halfway through, I realized that there was a fair amount of drawing involved as far as laying out the paintings. And that being a complete art novice that I am, I really should have started with a drawing book. So, I got this book, Keys to Drawing by Bert Dodson. And it had a lot of good reviews, and I think it was used quite a bit for different the basis of different art classes and such. Well, I wasn't quite as enthusiastic as a lot of the reviews were on it, but I still got a lot out of it. Some of the things I didn't like was that, I don't know, it seemed to not be well organized. It was kind of like if you're trying to go through a jungle of skills for drawing, instead of leading you through a well-defined path through the jungle out the other side, he kind of drops you from a helicopter into different random spots and tells you, well, you might want to try to go north or you might want to try to go south, and gets to be a little confusing. And I found him to kind of contradict himself quite a bit too, as far as he'll tell you to do something a certain way, and then later in the book he tells you to do it exact the opposite. So that was kind of irritating to me too. And a lot of stuff that was put in the book seemed like an afterthought. Like all the exercises, they were. It almost seemed like the editor or the publisher looked at the transcript and said, "Oh, you need exercises in here. Put 6 for every chapter," and that's what he did. He put in 6 in the chapter, kind of stuck them in the margins. Some chapters really didn't warrant 6 exercises. Other chapters warranted more, and it just seemed like an afterthought. And also a whole section about the different media and some techniques were included as an afterthought too. At the end of a chapter, he went through the chapter, and then at the end he had kind of some pages that were kind of blocked out and had kind of a lot of information that was just kind of stuck in there. So, but anyways, the exercise of going through the different drawings, whether you read the book or not, was valuable. So I learned a lot there. And I guess to summarize it, the book is more of a book of concepts more than it is of techniques. And being, like I said, the novice that I am, I'm really looking for a lot of technique here. But let's go ahead and page through the book real quick, and you can kind of take a look at some of the things that he covered. I have the paperback edition of the book, and it's the 15th anniversary edition. It was originally published a while ago, back in 1985, so it's quite an old book. To kind of go through, I'll go through the contents here somewhere. There's the drawing process, the artist's handwriting, proportions, light, depth, texture, pattern and design, and drawing and imagination. So the first chapter, the drawing process, he just emphatically stresses drawing exactly what you see. Don't have any preconceived notions of what it should look like. And he starts out by having you draw your feet as the first project. And I've actually taken notes throughout the whole book here as I went. He's big into restating, not erasing your mistakes, but leaving them there and just drawing over them, which for me was kind of difficult because my drawing is so poor to begin with. Here he's talking about seeing versus knowing, and he has you draw your hand in a kind of an unusual position, so you don't have any preconceived notion of how it's supposed to look like. So I did that. And then he actually talks more about the seeing versus knowing, and he has you draw something from your memory and then drawing it from a real-life object and kind of illustrating that when you actually draw from what you see, you get a better, more detailed result. This was actually a pretty, I guess, complicated project right off the start. He has you draw your eyes, and without having talked about proportions or anything like that, it's kind of kind of aggressive, but I did a lot, try to do a lot with proportioning and stuff, even though he didn't go over it in the book. The next thing was big on the shapes and outlines. You know, you can draw objects through the outlines and shapes that you see. There's an exercise with the bottle, but he goes over the, you know, doing the outline first, and then you know, filling in maybe some shapes from there, and tying things together with shapes. And there was an exercise here for drawing something mechanical and kind of using an outline. I did that I think twice here. It was really difficult to do an outline, but anyways, that was that. Chapter 2, this is where he gives you some info, and then he grabs you up in the helicopter out of the jungle and he drops you somewhere else in the jungle of drawing skills. And here he just, out of the blue, he goes over 8 different artists, and he goes over just kind of their style. And I'm not really sure what you're supposed to get out of that, but you're supposed to pick one and emulate it. Or copy it, and actually that's what I did. And I don't, like I said, being a beginner drawer, I don't know really what you learn. I did learn that there's a lot more to the technique than just copying the drawing, because there's a lot of questions I came up with on exactly how the artist was doing. So I don't really know what this was worth, but he had you do that, and then he had you do kind of a similar technique on something of your own design. So I did a kind of a fruit bowl sort of still life there. Once again, he drops you from the helicopter into another world, and he has you do these gesture drawings and 5-minute burn drawings, and basically, I don't know, it's just kind of crazy. You make these drawings within a minute. And I find that I just scribbled and really didn't get anything out of it. I didn't take the time to kind of lay anything out or anything, but I think he has you do 9 drawings, and if you count up all the time, it was like 15 minutes worth. And what was crazy is then he gives you a half an hour to do this tonal bar, which is really crazy. I mean, what in the world are you going to spend a half an hour doing that versus all the scribbling he had you do on the previous page? And also, he didn't really give you any technique on how to do the toning bar, other than you know, lightening up a little bit on the pencil pressure. Here he gives you some tonal matching. You're supposed to copy this picture. Once again, for some reason, at the end of the book, he gives you all the techniques on, you know, smudging and using a stump and that sort of thing, but he doesn't give it to you here, so I'm not sure what the deal was there. He has you kind of go willy-nilly and then put in detail, and I don't know, it was just kind of bizarre, because he says, you know, go willy-nilly and then put in detail and then go willy-nilly again, but it doesn't really work out that way. Once you have your outline, it's pretty much all detail. This is one of the kind of examples where he looks like he put things into the book as an afterthought. I mean, here he finishes the chapter, has the last exercise, and now he gives you this stuff that's blocked in on different media. He actually gives you some techniques and rubbing procedures that you could have used back when you were doing the exercise. So, like I said, a lot of this I think was just thrown in at a later date after he wrote the main part of the book. So the next chapter is chapter 3 on proportions, and I learned a lot there. It was very helpful. He's really heavy into figure drawing, and the exercises have you nab somebody for a half hour to an hour at a time, which I can't really, you know, ask somebody to just sit around for that long to draw. So I used some photos when I had to. Here he shows drawing figures by finding the midpoint. And the first exercise is drawing a standing figure. And he has drawing actually a lounging figure and a figure with foreshortening. And I thought I found a picture of this of Satchel Paige back in the early 1900s here, which is kind of neat. What else? There's the foreshortening, portraits, some kind of rules of thumb as far as proportioning, you know, eyes and the mouth and distance between the eyes and whatnot. Different side views and things. So like I said, very, very heavy in the figure and kind of portrait stuff. And chapter 4 is light, illusions of light. And there's kind of a basic light shade pattern he has you do. And some figures that actually have some strong lighting in them, like this one. And light and mood. And one other thing in the book is he does a lot of this stuff not necessarily in pencil. So these are like washes. And it's really hard to kind of see what he's talking about or get the same effect with pencil. But he has you do a view with two different, same view and two different lighting situations. He has you do talk about shadow in terms of composition and using it in a picture to intensify mood. So I came up with that with the help of a photo. And that's about it. The next chapter is depth. And it talks about the ways of creating depth, I guess, with overlapping shapes and diminishing sizes and softening edges and converging lines and whatnot. So he has you do some stuff like that with a little bit of perspective and different objects. And here's a good example of where he contradicts himself. In the beginning of the book, he tells you how to draw these shapes and outlines, draw the outlines and all this. And here he tells you how bad it is to draw an outline. Instead, make these three-dimensional and kind of draw through the object like it's translucent. And so he has you do something to that effect. And but don't worry, he's gonna contradict that again later in the book, anyways. But for now, drawing the outline is taboo compared to the gospel, like he did in the beginning of the book. He talks about perspective, and I think he does a pretty good job with that. He has you do a 1-point perspective, and then a 2-point perspective here. Instead of kind of going out from a building, I did in towards a corner. And to finish out the chapter, he talks about ellipses and the point of view that you're looking at a circle and how it becomes an ellipse. So I did some lab equipment actually to do that, or lab glassware. The next chapter is texture, and he doesn't give hardly anything as far as method, more in terms of just kind of concept. And a lot of what he does too is he shows washes, which is really difficult to translate to something that is more pencil. And I was basically concentrating on pencil here, but he kind of jumps around where it's convenient. Here he has drawing kind of contrasting textures, which I did with this backpack and bottle and knit hat. Unifying textures with kind of a similar stroke, and drawing hair, and doing foliage. Once again, he's doing a lot of different media here. And drapery. Chapter 7 is on pattern and design. He's back on the shapes now. You should draw shapes and outlines. Here he has you do a simplified landscape using only 3 different tones, which makes it rather difficult. Not kind of something he's talked about earlier. And then from there, let's see, he goes back to the shadow and kind of shapes with faces, doing patterns, the reverse patterns here, which I did with the bike tire. And then some things on framing and actually on composition. He has you do same subject, but on 4 different compositions, actually a vertical composition, a horizontal, a close-up, and a distant. So I guess just for fun. From there, he talks about conflicting concepts within a drawing, repetition and variation, simplicity and complexity. And once again, here he kind of contradicts his drawing exactly what you see, but here he says to simplify or standardize complicated objects and not exactly what you see. That's another kind of conflict. So here he talks about kind of some tangents that might happen when you do a drawing, like this lady's elbow looks like it's in the other lady's head while it's actually resting on a bar. The nose is by the window, the car is lifting the mountain. So here he says, don't draw what you see, you know, kind of make something that's not there, but is a little more clear. Which he again contradicts. Actually, about 9 pages later here, he actually shows, here he shows this tree coming out of the man's head and talks about, oh, how great that is. But here it's terrible. So basically, a lot of the book, you go through and you do what you think you need to do and kind of ignore what his latest tangent is as far as giving advice. So in that case, the book really isn't all that much a help if you're just doing what you think is right anyways. But the last chapter is this drawing and imagination, kind of joining 2 dissimilar ideas to get a idea for a drawing, kind of exaggerating features to make things look a little bit different. Once again, not drawing what you see, but drawing something exaggerated in certain respects. Once again, here's the tree coming out of the guy's head. And so that's about it. The exercise for the last chapter was just make 6 drawings of a common theme, and I'm in the process of doing that. So overall, I would give this book a C+ to a B-. I just found it to be really kind of frustrating and irritating that the organization was so poor. I think he could have done a much better job as far as putting things in a better order and progressing through the book. But, you know, take my review with a grain of salt, because most of the reviews online have rated this much better. Maybe because I'm kind of a novice and a beginner. So anyways, there were some good concepts that he brought up. Going through the exercises was a big help, but I could have gone through a list of exercises without the book. So that really didn't add all that much compared to just doing a bunch of time with the pencil and different things to draw. So after this, I think I'm going to do one more book, and that's going to cover colored pencil. I like colored pencil for doing quick sketches in a journal, and it seems to add a lot with for something that's quick and able to make a lot of differentiation in surfaces and tones and everything. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to call my education over. Nothing's going to be able to make me get any better than I am. I'm quite the novice, so that'll give me more to chew on, and anything after that will be a lost cause on me anyways. So thank you for watching the video, and happy drawing to you.